Today, we're preparing our raised beds for spring planting. We will be using compost, aged chicken manure, and soil that we've been building up on this property for the past 5 years. No, we won't be using that snake that we found, but we will be using manure from the chickens, and we have a new elderberry that popped up right next to the chicken coop and back. Right now, I'm going to get started in the coop that we rotate our chickens from. We usually place them here in the late spring, summer, all the way till about maybe September, October, and then they go back into the smaller coop where they can keep each other warm and have close quarters. We put them in the coop that we're removing the aged chicken manure from so that they have room to spread out and do a little more during the warmer months. Right now, I'm just removing some henbit, some chickweed, and some dead nettles from in there that grew up, which let us know that our soil is really good and it's organic soil. So we tend to pull these items up and feed them to the chickens, so they got a full salad bar this Saturday. On our land, we have lots of ground cover, which makes it's natural ground cover, and it makes it very good for permaculture style soil building, which is when you see these types of natural ground cover underneath, they're protecting roots, they're retaining moisture, and feeding soil microbes. Now you're about to hear some sounds of the weed whacker going. You may hear the rooster roosting and crowing. Um, we're just trying to get a handle on things before the heat sets in, because when the heat sets in, things tend to grow up really quick here in Zone 8A. At the beginning of spring, it's ideal to get out there with the weed whacker and, cut back some things, clearing areas, also clearing trees that may have fallen over the winter. We have lots of arborvitaes in the back, and a lot of them fell this winter and last winter, so we have lots of wood that we have to handle. Even still from last year, we didn't even get it all done, but those items will become part of our soil. Next, I'm going to show you a clip of one of our raised beds that produced really well last year. But before we get started with spring planting this year, we need to add some of our chicken manure, which is what I'm scooping out here. This definitely is going to help our beds refresh for the spring planting season, and it's going to add a ton of nutrients to our bed. I'll also have some other amendments that I'll be adding that you'll see here later in the video. I actually show you my fertilizer mix, what I mix it up in, what's in the container, and how I add it to each bed. Now, it takes a lot of scoops. We filled up that green bucket you see there, I want to say 8 times, and each bed gets a healthy dose of the aged chicken manure. Chicken manure is one of the best organic fertilizers for the garden, and this has been sitting since last fall, so it's ready to go in the beds.
If that was the case, you wouldn't have been like, oh, it's easier to do the other thing.
I was thinking about the weight on this mug.
It's pull it, there's no weight.
I'm sure probably just used to being the damn wood chips. Going down here.
Once you get the momentum going.
Go home. Go, let's go. Go home.
Honey, here's my shovel. They couldn't wait to get their ass in there.
You see them?
Yeah. They like, we tired of being in this little ass. They couldn't wait to get back in the big cage. Honey, you should walk in there. That manure is so soft.
That size is good for 20 birds. That's the crazy thing.
We're layering compost, aged manure, and soil together to regain the fertility of the raised beds. This is exactly what you want to see in healthy soil. Rich organic matter is what you want to see. You exactly want to see this to help build good root structure and healthy soil.
Come back this way, Christian. Go.
Go. Go ahead and start mixing it up. We really don't need to mix a whole lot because we can actually
We mix everything together so that the nutrients will be distributed throughout the raised beds. And sometimes, every now and then, we'll have mint, the spearmint, pop up in the bed, even though we've kept them in containers. When we first got here, we did have them in like some wooden drawers, but as they decayed, they allowed the mint to creep through, and yeah, sometimes they pop up in the bed. So we're on our way back to get our next load.
Thank God the sun didn't move. Now we're back over here for our second load to get some of this manure from where this is where the chickens were last season, and they haven't been in there since the whole season. We keep them in there, and then in the winter to give them more shelter and so they can be closer, they go in here. Time for a cold drink.
So after we filled up that green bin a couple times and turned it over into the wheelbarrow, we're headed back over to the raised beds, and we're going to pick up the last little bit of soil in the soil 3 bag that we had. We had bought a huge load a couple years ago, and that has helped us fill our raised beds throughout the year. We have a total of 5 raised beds that we have utilized soil out of this bag to keep full. Sometimes you will find additional roots and manure that may not have broken down. So you have to make sure that you have a good mix of soil. And when you find those clumps or those additional roots, just remove them. Once you get them to your raised bed, remove the visible roots out of the way. You're left with pure black gold. Now, this is what some of the clumps that may not have had the chance to break down fully, that's what they look like. But they crumble fairly easy and they mix in well. Once you water the bed, they'll be okay because remember, you're not going to plant directly in this. After you, even though it's aged, you're going to leave it
I sure like
sitting
to know why I
for
can't
a
find
while.
water bottles.
These beds will actually sit full
That don't
for a
look right.
couple of weeks before the transplants under lights in the house will be ready to transplant out here into the raised beds.
And we're gonna do the same with this one. Now these are mixes I'm getting ready to show you. My husband liked these caramel pecans that we get from, I think, Sam's Club. So I take these containers and I mix up my fertilizer in there. Okay. When I come out here to the garden, and I always have some perlite ready. Let me show you what it looked like on the inside. Now in here it's got my alfalfa meal, my sulfur, phosphorus, potassium is all in here, and eggshells, little bone meal, and blood meal. And I take it after we set the beds, and I sprinkle it. It's powerful, so I put a little bit on here. And I sprinkle it in the bed.
After we've added the organic matter, we water the beds so that the microbes can begin to break down and the beds will be all ready to go. Thanks again for watching. This was Lady Empress, and remember, garden yourselves accordingly.